I just wanted to open. I say I know who you are, because
We've known each other a long
you've
time.
known me probably most of my life.
Most of your life. Yep.
And you were my pastor. Well, still are my pastor. And I worked as your assistant pastor for 5 years, and so I know a lot of the story. But would you introduce just yourself, and particularly how did you come to the position of the King James Bible? Is that something you grew up with?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yep. So I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, and came to know the Lord as a 12-year-old. And my pastor growing up moved to Michigan to start a church. And I, after high school, came up and worked a summer, just kind of youth group helper. It was really just, I was friends with this family, wanted to hang out with them. And during that summer, Lord just kind of convicted me or convinced me to go to college. And so I went to Christian college, and I only knew one existed. I didn't know about Bob Jones, West Coast. West Coast was actually their first year. I'd only heard of Pensacola Christian College. So I thought that was the only Christian college that existed.
Yeah.
And so that was a good way to the Lord to get me there. And I attended originally as a biology major. And then my freshman year, second semester freshman year, God called me to the ministry. And then I don't remember what year it was. I think maybe it was my sophomore or junior year. I was there for the infamous Dale Johnson chapels on the text issue and the
tapes.
The tapes. Yeah. The VHS tapes that everyone got. I was in the auditorium for that.
Okay.
And of course, so I hadn't, going in there as a student was using the King James Bible. The church I grew up in used the King James Bible. I don't think at that point I had a doctrine or historical conviction that way. But those presentations were my first foray into the idea of the two streams, the majority or the TR received text, and then the eclectic text. And then there was a guy that came. He was like a Lutheran guy, but they brought him to PCC. That was Leonidas, not Leonidas. Theus. Or people that are going to watch this are going to know who he was.
Yeah.
He wrote a book, but he really did the idea of the traditional text.
Okay.
And that was kind of the theme that he really talked about was this is the text that, outside of Baptist, because he wasn't a Baptist, he was like, this has been the text of the church. And so I kind of left PCC pretty firm in my position on that. And then went and planted a church out of the church that we're pastoring now, Emmanuel Baptist Church in Corunna, Michigan. And that has been our doctrinal position. And so for me, the text issue was something that was settled pretty, by the time I'm getting into ordination, I was there already.
So you had it principally, and then how practically has it developed for you through church planting and now pastoring? Has that strengthened your position on the King James? Has it been a help or a hindrance in some way?
So now, I came to Michigan in 2006. I entered the ministry in 1999. That's when I graduated from PCC and then came up to plant a church. And so now this is some almost 30 years of some perspective. And for me, practically, there's just been a simple, what I'm trying to say, like settledness about it. I've just been settled. So I've never had to wrestle with it that much. And so just have done ministry and consistently hold it. Could disciple. I could preach it, teach it. I could disciple it confidently. I've never had it become. I've never had some ministerial crisis or where it was hindering what it was that we were trying to do that I felt like I needed to question it.
Yeah.
So for me that was very easy. I haven't struggled with it that much. But now 30 years into it, I have seen that once you kind of let go of that mooring, just different guys that I've known over the years, usually once you abandon the King James Bible, the next Bible you choose is not your last Bible. And so you're just going to kind of get in the flow. Yeah. Because it kind of leaves you in this endless search. Yeah. Because you're never quite settled. Because the admission of every new translation is that it's not it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
okay, I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one.
Or
So
the update of the one that you like.
yeah, the updated one you
Yeah.
like. And so for me, it's just been the settledness and not, putting it to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, not wasting a lot of ministerial energy
Yeah.
doing it. And then, of course, we started, your dad, in 2006, an organization called the Bible Nation Society,
Mm-hmm.
which was to increase and diffuse knowledge about the Bible and promote its positive effects upon society and culture. I said that a lot of times. It's
Yeah.
still in. It's been a while
Got
since
the
I
pitch.
officially represented it. Of course, so over at Bible Nation Society, one of our issues was the Bible.
Yeah.
Which then I had the privilege of kind of being the director or the lead implementer of the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible in Washington, D.C., May 2nd and 3rd. Today's May 2nd.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, prior to that event, there wasn't a clear, hey, May 2nd. We had found it.
KJV Day.
Yeah, there really wasn't a KJV day, if you want to say it that way. But we did some research, and there was just some consensus around this, anecdotally. So we just went with it, so that's what got me into this environment. So we're going to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible. I had an imperative placed upon me that I had to produce a first edition King James Bible, and I had no budget for it. I couldn't rent it, I couldn't buy one. I couldn't pay for it. All the money that we had for this event was allocated to producing the event. I just had to get it.
Yeah.
So then, in order to get one, I had to find the guys that had them, and then so that just got me into this whole world of antiquarian Bibles.
Yeah.
And meeting a lot of different personalities involved with that. So like we have Dr. Brown, who has a fantastic Bible collection, and he runs in those circles, and so meeting some of those different characters then got me involved more in this now, the textual side, the historical side, and then the old Dean Burgon Society, kind of being I don't think I was ever a member, but I attended a few meetings before we started the King James Bible Research Council.
Yeah.
And then we, following the 400th anniversary, a couple years after that, this starts, and
Yeah.
been on a journey.
Yeah. We just heard your main session, titled Incontinent or Inaccurate, in which you kind of address the idea of archaism or
Right.
false friend type words in the King James. But one of the other premises of your session is kind of the use of social media in advancing some of these ideas. And obviously we're doing like a podcast right now. Like that is the new medium.
Awesome.
Whereas before it was, mail VHS tapes
Right.
to everybody you know.
Right.
Now we have this opportunity. What do you see as the importance of this type of media in these conversations and engaging, even some critics, people we disagree with?
Yeah, no. So, the content has stayed the same. The arguments are the same.
Yeah.
The research, we're building upon it and we're adding to it, but the research is the same. It's just the distribution of the media and really how people are taking information in. And so, back when I was younger, VHS tapes, some of our listeners might not even know what that is. That's how you did it. And so there was a big barrier of entry. There was a big hurdle to go from you had an idea to get your idea out there. But now anyone can publish. And so the number of voices that are able to be heard has increased. And so we got to do a good job of making sure that our voice and this perspective is well represented in the mediums in which people are taking in information.
Yeah.
I think about that because the perspective that the King James Bible Research Council holds is a historic perspective. It is founded on a biblical bibliology, right? But it is not. There are other King James perspectives, and there's probably some that we would kind of agree, even with some of our critics, that like that is not that's not the way to be a King James guy.
Yeah,
those aren't the right arguments, or the and so often we encounter people that are involved in this debate that are not quite familiar with this perspective. And when we found it, I remember being in those first couple of meetings, Dr. Stringer, Dr. Brown, they said we wanted to be reasonable voices.
Yeah.
We wanted to be reasonable. In other words, not cantankerous. We weren't just kind of picking pot shots at people or involved in some sort of civil war within this very niche segment of Christianity.
Yeah.
But, to get together all King James advocates.
Yeah. And I think you'd agree with the idea that even some of the people that we would argue against or were trying to defend against their accusations are people that are our brothers that we could agree with in some places. But
so I just did my presentation Incontinent or Inaccurate.
Yeah.
And it was a response to a short reel video of Wesley Huff.
Yeah.
And I actually like Wesley Huff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a personal thing. I was really excited that he got, a platform like Joe Rogan to be able to, and for the purpose of really to communicate the resurrection. And so, I that's how I came across him firsthand. And then I kind of found out some other things about him as well. And so, it's never personal.
Yeah.
It's not a personal attack against him. And, God's using him in some avenues or venues that we don't have influence in.
Sure.
But when he made this video, it was like right in our wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
This is like this video was.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he was directed at the King James Bible Research Council. I like to believe he knows who we are. I think he probably does. But maybe it was directed at us. So it was just, okay, I'll redirect back.
Yeah.
But really what I saw interesting about the video was not so much attacking the person, but as the idea of some of the presuppositions. Because I think a lot of times, and I think we saw this in some recent debates, is there is a race to get to the minutia, a race to get to the gotcha moment.
Yeah.
Like, well, what about, this? And it's hard to debate the minutia when we don't agree on the foundation.
Sure.
And a lot of it just comes down to, what we believe, what you believe about the Word of God and the nature of the Word of God, and then looking at the evidence, the historical and manuscript evidence to validate that. And we probably very much take a chicken then the egg approach. I don't know, maybe in other words, the Word of God is, and now we're just looking at history and seeing it. And some are kind of taking like and what I mean is maybe it's I get the egg approach. I don't know. Is the Word of God altogether exists, and now we see the trail, whereas opposed to and the opposing view is the Word of God is scattered, and we're constantly trying to. It's an egg that has been cracked, and we're trying to put it all back together. It's a horrible illustration. But.
Yeah. Well, I appreciated the session in that, just in kind of even addressing the format, and in the because I was reading. Tyndale and particularly in his dialogue with Thomas More, they're arguing in their 1500s way, by printing things and shipping them across continent months and years apart from each other. But it struck me like these guys would be like on people's podcasts, talking like they would be arguing in this format in their day. But one of the things that made Tyndale stand out, even as a defender of his own work and of the scriptures, is like he never attacked More. As a person, or like wished him dead, like More did for him constantly. Right. Just a different spirit, even in his argument.
Right.
Yeah. Even
in recognizing that, at what point is a person still a brother?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the greater cause. But a lot of these are, in many sense, in family arguments. But it has been the nature of Christians and I would say true believers since the apostles.
Yeah.
I mean, the apostles had disagreements with one another.
Yeah.
Paul had to call out Peter. And then we see in early church history, I mean, much of our doctrine was formulated or crystallized from the arena of discussion and two of opposing viewpoints being presented and in a consensus or it's not even consensus, but I don't know if it's like a vote. I don't know if it's like, oh, you won that debate, therefore, the person who lost is exiled, never to come back.
Yeah,
it's the idea that takes hold in the free marketplace of ideas. That's what's going to go, and so that's where we're competing at. And so there is this free market of ideas, and we are casting our lot. We're putting in our idea,
Yeah.
and with confidence that it's the right
Yeah.
idea.
Put them up against each other.
It'll carry its water. It'll carry weight.
Yeah. I have a friend that just, wrote a book on the concept of contending without being contentious. I think that was the title of his book.
Right.
And I do appreciate the Research Council and being able to stand for the Word of God and even confront direct accusations at times, but do so in a
but
way.
I also do think that there is a lot of sometimes as we're talking about this that we're kind of attacking a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so like sometimes, everyone thinks about the spitting, flaming fundamentalists, and yet tell me the last time you encountered one.
Yeah.
Like, tell me the last time you were in that church meeting that. And so sometimes
is he in the room with us right now?
Yeah. It's a caricature. I mean, we dealt with that a little bit, even as we were in our last presentation about the, Elizabethan nature of the King James text, which I think a lot of it's a caricature.
Yeah.
Like, I think people just think that's in their mind. And, so.
And people parrot and repeat those things. Like maybe even the video that you're referencing is just, things that have been heard or learned.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything new in there. Yeah. It could have been anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other direction? I was just going to say, is there any other, direction that you're going in your own reading and research on the King James? Any topics or things that you plan to address in the future? Curiosities?
Yeah. I don't, I did enjoy this one. It was a different style for me. I've personally haven't done a lot on the, hey, I'm going to name a name or I'm going to do a
rebuttal type
thing, to somebody. So that was kind of fun because it kind of gives you, and really the way I did it was I was just using it as a framework to say the things I would normally say, just with a different context.
Yeah.
I mean, I would normally say all those things anyways, or present that information. I think like your presentation on Tyndale, I mean, the anniversary, his 500th anniversary is coming up, and that's significant. I kind of tend to lead, and I said this in my presentation, I will study it all, and some of it is by necessity for presentations or whatnot. But if you ask me, like, what's the part of it that you just enjoy studying, it's the impact of the King James Bible, and the impact of the Bible on society and culture. So for instance, we're talking about Tyndale. We're interested about the anniversary next year, but you and I were off camera just talking about that book, Tyndale to Madison. And so, if the Bible is what it says it is, then it has an impact. And one of the impacts that the historian, that author of that book was making is that Tyndale's actions had this societal shockwave that ultimately leads to the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And so that's the Bible's positive effect in a society and culture. At our 400th anniversary, we had a guy named Vishal Magdawaldi. He's a kind of from India. He's a theologian, but he wrote a book called The Book That Made Your World. And he's talking about the British not only colonization of India, but bringing it out of the Dark Ages in many areas, because customarily India and Hinduism had some, I forgot what the term is, but the wife burning and those different things that were just, wrong and not good for society. But then William Carey comes and he brings a King James Bible. And we know William Carey as the Baptist missionary, but Carey was greater than a missionary. He was the societal change agent that not only reformed his teachings and his actions, reformed some of their societal constructs, particularly marriages, but he introduced concepts of agriculture, and so they could feed themselves. And all of the principles that he was inserting in different Indian society was all biblical things. And so that's just another, I like that legacy, that impact of the King James Bible, of the Bible. And so then when you look at it that way, this is one of you can't, it's hard. Give me any new translation. You can't beat the impact. Yeah. You can't just beat the impact of the King James Bible. Yeah. And for something, some of our critics, for something that's so bad or ineffective, man, some of God's greatest servants for the last 400 years have utilized that book to do some powerful things,
Yeah.
which I do think is the other side of it. I think you and I were talking about this off camera, is that the Research Council is primarily made up of practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
Yeah. Pastors, missionaries.
Evangelists that are actually, this is the tool of our trade. We're not academics. We're not solely academics.
Primarily,
Yeah, we're not professionally hired. We are boots on the ground doing the ministry.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like, that's why part of the accusation or the insinuation that it's ineffective for ministry is like, hasn't been our experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the legacy as being one of the things that initially convinced you of the King James. It's the one that's lasted. It's the one that's been around, and it's the one that's going to last all these other ones. So I enjoyed your session.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody, go and listen to Pastor George's session and subscribe to the KJBRC. Catch all the great sessions and even more to come very soon. Thank you.